learn how to camp, even if you don't want to, even if you think you'll hate it, even if somebody told you it's dangerous, even if your parents or your friends are afraid, even if you have nobody to do it with, even if, all of the things. Learn how to camp. Learn some outdoor skills. Learn how to go back to the basics. Learn what you can, learn what you have the capacity to, learn what you have the time to and the resources to. I am Yves, Darrell is behind the camera, and we are in our tent. We're currently camping, and today we are going to be setting up this tent, and we are also going to be talking about why right now is an amazing time for you to learn how to camp before you need to learn how to camp. So continue watching this video and we will have a lovely and sometimes touchy and maybe a little bit controversial conversation. Hi everyone! It is time for us to get comfortable at camp. We are going to set up the tent together. I drove my Jeep Wrangler here. It is not our normal setup. If you've seen any of our other videos, you have seen us in the Jeep Gladiator in a rooftop tent, but that is not where we started. That having a rooftop tent is honestly also not where we would recommend beginners starting because it's more expensive. We get our stuff from garage sales. Although the tent we have is a Walmart brand tent, we did not buy it from Walmart. It was from a garage sale or a yard sale or something like that. Normally we take our backpacking tent, but we have extra tents just because we have extra tents. And also if we come with other people, we let other people sleep in our other tents. So we have like 2 other tents so we can bring a lot of people on trips with us. We started to have so much stuff that we were just like, do we need to start hosting group trips? I mean,
I'm interested.
Huh?
I'm interested.
You're interested in group trips?
Yeah.
Darrell says he's interested in group trips. Darrell is behind the camera, by the way, so you don't see him. Darrell, come say hi.
Hello. I'm behind the camera.
Flying out. I'm trying to remember what kind of situation this tent even is. This is the one where I think you have to put the tent poles through the holes versus our backpacking tent. You don't have to slide it through, so it's a little less precarious. This kind is a little bit more precarious, but I mean, it's not as highly engineered as other, let's put it that way, as our big Agnes tent. Anyway, going out. Oh, the other thing, this tent doesn't have a footprint. So for our backpacking tent, it has a separate footprint that we lay underneath the tent itself, and then we put the rain fly on top of the tent. This is just the floor of the tent is attached to the tent, so it's all in one package. All right, you put it all in the pot, you eat it together. I'll make all the noise first before I start talking. Probably won't be able to hear me over it anyway. So we set it up facing this way. As you can see, I've laid it out, I've spread it all out, and then this is the door. So it'll be up like this. I typically don't like to be alarmist. I'm not the kind of person who's like, okay, the world is ending, these are the end times, everything's going downhill, the world is blowing up, we are all going to be, I don't know, beamed up by aliens that don't have our best wishes in mind. I don't know, you know, all of the catastrophic things. I'm not really that into being that way. However, I do like to be circumspect. I like to be prepared, and I like to not be naive. Like, I know that things can get bad. Things have gotten bad before, and I believe I like to believe that I like to survive, and I like to believe that I could help other people survive if we're ever in a situation where my help is needed. And we have to be realistic and thoughtful about what's happening with the things around us, politically, culturally, socially. What kind of state are we in? And I live in the United States, and things have been turbulent in the basis of the history of the United States project is turbulence. I mean, we haven't, as this current nation, even been around for that long. So just so y'all know what's going on right now is I'm just setting up the tent poles. These tent poles are okay. They're the kind with the little elastic in between. Connections looking a little rusty, but they work. And then I've already set up one of the long cross poles. I'm gonna set up the other long cross pole now. I'm just laying them out to get them ready to put through. I don't remember if it's in this tent, it's easier to not fully do it out first, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I'm already there. But yeah, anyway, so lots of stuff has been going on. I mean, I think most of the people who watch this channel, they're in the United States, so you can relate to United States situations. But wherever you are, the world is always changing. And in the United States, there have been a lot of natural disasters. I was in Asheville during the hurricane. I don't live there, but I was there, just so happened to be there at the time the hurricane came through. And they are, of course, still recovering from that. There were, of course, in Southern California, the wildfires or the fires that were happening. People are still dealing with respiratory difficulties because of it. A few people's decisions are affecting many people's decisions. I think one of the best things that we can do is be prepared to the capacity that we have to be prepared. So let's go ahead and put these tent poles in. I'll move this one way back. And then this little red thing right here, I'll slide it through. So the way that I like to think about it is learn to camp before you need to camp. I think we need to draw our lines in the sand. They're often very fine about when something is alarmist and when we are just being, when we're just reacting to the way things are in the world around us. Preppers have gotten a lot of flack because a lot of times we're looking at the extremes of things. But we can't, on the one hand, say we're afraid of the way our politicians are treating us and say that we're afraid of the ways that the world looks like it's going. And then on the other hand, say, why are you doing so much? Why are you so scared? We have to check our cognitive dissonance sometimes, okay? So for whatever it's worth to you, what are you willing to do to be prepared? What are you willing to do to be in a situation where you feel like you have some sort of agency, some sort of control, enough control to that you need to get you to where you feel like, okay, I don't want to just give up and die. You are like, okay, no, I feel like I can do something about this. You know, I feel like I'm capable when everything around me feels like it's kind of falling apart, whether that's because of policy or if that's because the earth is doing what the earth is doing, or if the earth is doing what it's doing because of policy and because of people. That's why this is a learn to camp before you need to learn to camp situation, because obviously we do this recreationally, but we also take seriously the skills that we learn through camping. We talked about in a previous video the mistakes that we've made camping, like navigation. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. I'll put it up there somewhere. But we made the mistake of reading a map incorrectly. I'm very grateful for our improved land navigation skills that we have now. So we use that when we're recreationally camping, but they will also come in handy if we ever get to a point where we have to use a map, or if we, we're in a situation where we don't have our GPS, if the electricity is out, if the cell towers are out. Okay, y'all don't see this, but this is the thing that happens with this tent that doesn't happen with our Big Agnes tent, is that the little tent poles come out sometime as you're trying to push it through here. I know somebody's yelling at the screen being like, you should have did it this way. Then that wouldn't have happened. Well, guess what? If there is a way like that, I'm clearly doing things the hard way. But either way, I'm pushing it through right now. We're almost done. So I've got these two cross pieces on. I think we can pop it up now. We're about to find out. Aha! It's easier to do with two people, apparently. But yeah, so we know that these are things that really happen. We get really cozy in our bubbles. We have all our conveniences and our amenities, but we're reliant on systems that we do not have our hands on the control board for. When we don't have those, what do? We panic. We have to last minute figure out how we're going to do things. I mean, it's kind of like how they say you can have a gun, but if you don't use your gun and you don't shoot it, then when it's time for you, you're in the ultimate distress. Then you don't know how to use it. Your nervous system is all haywire. You probably won't be able to lock in. When we acquire skills of fire building, we acquire skills of tent pitching, we acquire skills of water filtering, water finding, then we are learning skills that we would need if we go back to the basics. Whoa! This is basic survival, and you don't need to be a survivalist. This is just everything we enjoy on a daily basis done in a different way. We enjoy water on a daily basis. We enjoy food on a daily basis. We enjoy being in shelter on a daily basis. So no matter what the administration is, no matter what year it is, no matter what country you're in, when you do stuff like this, it builds comfort. It builds a little bit of comfort because you're more confident in the skills that you have. So if you ever are forced to use these skills and you're not just doing it out of choice, then you're like, all right, I've done this before. It feels familiarity. Even if it's not comfort, it's familiarity. All right, this I guess is like your shoe pad. So now we got to figure out how to get the rain fly on. You just put this over the top. I think that's what I remember doing last time too. So we gotta just probably have to reorient it after I get it to the top to see which is front, which is back. This is actually the tent that saved us. It saved us one day we were in the rain. Quick aside, quick story, anecdote related to this tent. We were in the park, just like on a park date where we just had the tent. We were playing Magic the Gathering inside the tent, or we're playing chess or something. One of those games. We usually take games with us. And we were playing and it started pouring down. And it was a really nice day before that. And the people who were around us in the park were not prepared. So they ended up getting stuck in the rain and panicking. And we were having the grandest time. I mean, that rain was so peaceful. And we just played games. We let the rain fall around us. And we were good. Which brings me back to the point of, if you ever do need it, we had shelter. But the point being is that the world is changing. It's not like you don't already know that anyway. Whatever we can do to help ourselves adapt to those changes, to be more flexible, more pliable, more fluent in the things that help us adapt to those changes, then that to me seems like a net positive. When you have people who are advocating for things that harm the environments that we use to survive, that make our environments less livable, that make food less edible, then we have to be ready for that world to change. We have to be ready for this land to change, and we have to be ready for our environment to be different and the way we interact with it to be different. So it's time to throw stuff inside. These are sleeping pads and the blankets that are going inside. Sometimes we have the thermarests with us, which are the foldable sleeping pads that are super lightweight. They're not the most comfortable, but if we have the cots, and then we have the sleeping pads on top, even if they're the thermarest ones, and then we have our sleeping bags on top of that. Oh my gosh, it's great. So I think what I will do is, we don't have our good steaks, but whatever, it don't matter. They don't need to be good right now. They're just steaks. These little L-shaped ones. I need a hammer. Darrell has provided me with an axe. A moment of concentration while I hammer with an axe. So I'm gonna roll this side back so it's open for us to get in. Because I know it's gonna rain tonight, I will stake out the sides, and we'll keep talking while I do that. generally, I think it's a good practice to do things that we're uncomfortable with. And if we can do those things that we're uncomfortable with while we're not forced to do the things that we're uncomfortable with, then I think our nervous systems will be able to handle it a little bit better when or if we get to a point where we have to live differently. All right, that side in. I don't want to live every day and step outside as if I'm in fear. It's funny because when I was in Amsterdam recently, I was talking to the owner of the place I was staying in, and she was just like, are you afraid in America? Like, you go outside, like, are you good? Like, are you afraid every day? I'm just like, I mean, it's really hard to have this conversation. Didn't lose my finger. Focus. I actually do like my fingers. I don't live in constant fear. I will not allow the environment, the political state, I will not allow my own personal mental state to have me constantly unsettled. I try to use the tools that I have to regulate my fear and to use fear when it is handy for me. Let's continue this conversation inside the tent, and I will show you a little bit about how I set up the inside of the tent. I probably won't put everything in there right now because we like to have games inside, lights inside, headlamps, all that stuff. Maybe I'll just save that for another video. How about that? Maybe we'll do like an interior tent, how we like to have it on the inside, for another video. If you are interested in seeing a video like that, then let us know in the comments below and we'll go inside. Welcome to our very humble abode. So I will take this out. This is the Ultra Air Core insulated Big Agnes 20x72 sleeping pad. You can see the X on it. That means it came from a garage sale at REI, which means we got it on discount like we do so many of our things. And this have an X on it somewhere? Oh yeah, this has an X on it too. You can see it on the inside or the side right here. That means we got that on discount too. I wasn't lying when I said that we get a lot of stuff on discount now. Your mileage may vary, as I think it is with this one, because I think this one actually kind of goes flat, but it'll be better than sleeping on, just the regular ground. And also, that makes me think that I mentioned the mistakes video earlier. Don't sleep on uneven ground, okay? Pro tip. Not even a pro tip. It's a basic tip. But we've done it before, and it really made our sleep a lot less comfortable. Sometimes it's harder to avoid. The flattest ground you can sleep on the best, so you're not like rolling all over a place like roly-poly in the middle of the night. I think this sleeping pad is supposed to be self-inflating, but it's not. It's just a moderately cushiony sleeping pad to be on. This one is not self-inflating. This one is lung inflated, meaning I have to blow it up myself. Sometimes we bring a bag. If we don't really use these anymore, but sometimes we bring a bag that will inflate this for you. You can use the bag instead of using your breath, but I don't have that right now, so we're kicking it old school. So I'm gonna blow this up now. It's gonna take a while. I'm feeling dizzy. I'm feeling lightheaded, okay? But that probably took about, 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. We will use our blankets to lay underneath. The reality is you can't really be prepared for every single thing that will happen. You can just be as prepared as you can be. Clearly, unprecedented things are happening in nature, and also natural disaster is inevitable. That's not something we can control, and there is a measure of surrender that has to happen when it comes to being prepared for an unpredictable future. I don't know about you, but me, I'm not psychic. I am not Nostradamus. Who's a black person that had predictions like that? I don't know. Is there a black equivalent of somebody who prognosticated large major events that would happen in the future? Darrell's whispering in the background that there's always some black person who's done it. Unfortunately, I don't know who that person is right now. So if you know, let me know in the comments. Black prognosticator, philosopher, seer who had visions and knew things about the future. But anyway, I would be remiss if I didn't say that obviously we're talking about learning to camp before you need to learn how to camp. I mean, there are people who live like this on a daily basis. I mean, there are people who live in tents. They're used to living in tents. That's normal for them. They already have a measure of survival skills because that's their day-to-day life that they're living in. And me, I have the ability to live in a house and have the conveniences that come along with that. So for me, this situation being in a tent is outside of my normal, but I acknowledge that that is inside of a lot of people's normals, especially in the United States. So I think it is not just important, but maybe even imperative to step outside of our comfort zone right now, because a paradigm shift is going to require us to move very differently. So I think if you are someone who is already, if you are watching this video, you're probably already attuned to being in the outdoors. And even if it's not something that you're about to step your foot into in this very moment, it is something that feels aspirational to you. And that means that there may be a point where these skills are skills that you don't just use when you're going out to your next national park because you want to go stargaze and because you want to go overland, because you want to go backpack, because you want to go car camp. You might be using it because, like, you know, your home is no longer available, or you might be using it because you're trying to help somebody else prepare their home or get set up with some sort of shelter for them for whatever reason, whether that may be a huge shift in the way that we're living because of what's happening in our environment, or if it's because what's happening politically. I think that it is right now a good time for you to learn how to camp. And don't feel like you are overreacting. Don't feel like you're responding incorrectly. Don't feel like you're overly fearful. Don't let anybody talk you into thinking that this is something that you are being irrational about, because you are not being irrational for going back to the basics. So I've told you about my peers and other people that I know who just are not as into camping as I'm into camping. I know that it is not for everybody. Okay, so I know that being outdoors is not for everybody. I know that camping is not for everybody. Different people have different constitutions. What I'm saying is I know a lot of people who don't want to do this. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you also know a lot of people who don't want to do this. People specifically have to seek out other people who want to do outdoors things with them because they may not have that in their peer groups. And that might often, just keeping it real, might be more so the case if your peer group is largely Black American because of so many reasons. Some are personal, some are generational, and some of them are societal. So I understand, you know, not everybody wants to do this, but it is important for us to not just think about these skills as ones that we're gathering just for fun all of the time. We are not just doing this because we are doing this because we love doing it. We love being outside and it has many benefits, but we also realize that it is important for our survival and that we may potentially need to use these skills when our environment's burning down, when our home has been swept away by a hurricane, when there's been a landslide and it's taken away a lot of what we have known to be our environment, when a flood comes through, when power systems go down, when cell service goes down. I mean, I know so many people that think that these are far-fetched ideas, And these are people who also understand the direness. Is that a word? I don't know. It's a word now. The direness of the situation that we're in, and who have concerns and complaints about what politicians are doing. And still, there is a naivete that one can have about like what really can happen to us, because we might not have touched that yet. And I think those things become really more real when, you know, like the fires in Southern California happen, and it's touching all of these different parts. It's touching all of these different communities, from the people who have all the money and all the homes and the multiple $1-million homes and all of that, and to the people who are living on the street every day. It's touching all of these communities. I'm talking to people, like the kinds of people that I know, who think that those things might be far-fetched or a little bit absurd to think that way, or you're overly fearful for thinking that way. But I think we have to put things into perspective and to acknowledge the benefits and the privileges of the way that we live, and know that those things can touch us. And indeed, they may touch us. And in some ways, we can say they will touch us, even if it's not us personally. We have to learn these skills, even if we think we don't want to be outside, it's disgusting, it's gross, I don't want to be in the bugs. Even if we're not that kind of person, even if we wouldn't do this recreationally, maybe you can consider just in learning how to camp, just because you may need the skills in the future for yourself or for the other people around you. Maybe this is a little more selfless in that there's skills you're gaining for community. Maybe you could look at it that way as well, if that is helpful. I am of the belief that I don't think we necessarily need wilderness preparedness or survival skills only if we know that we're rescuing people on a daily basis. So maybe we don't have trainer level skills in that way, but we do have some skills, and we are practiced in them. We're practiced in tourniquets, or we are practiced in CPR, or we are practiced in just simply pitching a tent, or we know those skills, not because we are necessarily choosing to be wilderness survival leaders, but because we acknowledge the realities of the climate, the political climate, and the actual climate that we live in today, and how they're always changing. I will say that, you know, I've seen firsthand the desperation, the fear, the panic, the sorrow, the jumble and mass of emotions that can happen when a natural disaster comes through where you live and affects your home, and affects your family, affects your loved ones, affects your neighbors, affects your community. So I like to not be pushy. I don't want to be that person who's telling you what to do. And I try to do this gently with the people that I do have a little bit of influence on, that are in my closer peer group. But you need to learn to camp right now. I could have said that to you yesterday or the day before, and I'll say it again to you tomorrow. Matter of fact, come back to this video tomorrow and watch this part again of me saying to you, learn to camp right now, because it's not going to do you a disservice to have these skills in your repertoire, okay? If you need to pull out knowing how to make a fire, knowing how to pitch a tent, then you're able to do it. If you don't need to use it, then you have it. But if you do need to use it, then you have it. And that's the time when it's important. And I hate to be that person that says now more than ever. The only reason it's now more than ever is because this moment is the only one we have right now. So as much as I hate that saying, because I think that makes things feel really alarmist sometimes, it deserves its due respect in this moment, because every day is different. Every moment that's coming for us is unpredictable. The one thing that we do know is that change is inevitable. Our surroundings consistently change, our environment changes, our society changes. If we can hold tight to some form of preparedness and some form of flexibility, then we can set ourselves up for success a little bit better. Learn to camp before you need to learn to camp. Be safe, stay curious, and choose adventure. Bye.